In this video, I'm going to give you some resources and random bits of advice if you're just getting started in the game of darts. Equipment. What equipment do you need? What do I need to get started? Well, the beautiful thing about darts is that you don't need expensive equipment. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to spend more than, I don't know, £50. So it's mostly just a darts board and some darts. Darts boards, you do not need to buy an expensive darts board. In fact, if you're just getting started, I'd recommend buying a cheap one and just seeing how you feel and seeing how you get on with it. You can probably get one for like 20, £30, I suspect. It will do the job just fine. And then maybe in the future, if you want to upgrade it and improve it, go for it. As for the darts, really the only thing you need to know is buy tungsten darts. There's different types of metal for darts, and tungsten is the best because it's a dense metal. It allows for a thinner barrel. If you ever look at brass darts, you'll see they have a thick barrel and the weight's very sort of poorly distributed. So get tungsten darts, and that's really the only thing you need to know about that. You don't even need to have expensive darts. You can get quite cheap darts. You know, you could get darts that cost like £20. Once again, you don't need to spend 250 quid. And even if you've played for a bit longer, you still don't need expensive darts. You'll never need £250 like Luke Littler darts or whatever. Just get cheap tungsten darts if you want to. Whatever feels good, that's the most important thing. Do you like the grip? Do you like the way they feel in your hand? Do you like the way they throw and the weight of the dart? Use them, great. You don't need expensive darts. As for other bits of equipment, let's talk about like the lights. This is actually not just a light, it's an automatic scoring system, which I'll talk more about in a second. But as for a light, I would generally recommend getting a light because you can see the board better and you don't really realize how poor you can see the board until you actually get a light and start using it full time. But once again, it's not an expensive bit of equipment. Like upstairs, I've got a spur light for my board, and I've got, I think it's Taurus 270 from Mission. And that's like a £40 light, and it's like really good. So you do not need to spend big money, and I think you could probably get one even cheaper than that. It probably ties into a point I do want to make is, even if you don't intend to play with other people, I would generally recommend trying to get your home oche right. And when I say right, I don't mean like perfect or amazing or expensive. I just mean try and get the measurements of the board correct, i.e. like the correct height. And then when you've got your oche, which is where you're going to be throwing from, try and like throw from the correct distance, just so that you're building the correct habits. Like, you know, let's say for example, you had the board at the wrong height and it was like 20 centimeters too low or high. That's going to throw you off in the long run. And same for if like you're throwing too close to the board. If you're throwing from 6 foot rather than 7'9", that's going to hurt you in the long run. So make sure you're throwing from the correct distance and make sure the board is the correct height. Other than that, it doesn't need to be fancy. It really doesn't. I would recommend just getting the light because I think a lot of venues that you'd go to in the real world are going to have a light. So if you're practicing with a light and you get used to it sooner, that's better. But ultimately, that's, I would say, all you need. As for these like automatic scoring systems, you do not need one of these. And actually, to be truthful, at first, I would definitely recommend don't get one. And the reason I say that is because you need to build a pretty important skill in the game at first, which is just counting, like, and getting used to the like the combinations of scores you can get in darts. So, and if you're getting an automatic scorer and you're using that from the start, it's going to take away your ability to have that skill and, you know, build that skill, I should say. So I wouldn't recommend getting one of these at first. And as well, they are quite expensive. So that's something else to know. And if I'm being truthful, like I've got here, the Target Omni, is it like the greatest thing in the world? Like, you know, I'm a bit on the fence about that. It's pretty good, but it has its faults at times too. And it's not been perfect. Like I've had to send mine back and get the unit replaced because it stopped working and all that kind of stuff. So is it like a perfect thing to get? I'd say no. Unless money is just no object and you really don't want to score, like just do it yourself for at least like 6 months to a year and then maybe review the situation then. But I wouldn't say get one of these at first. You can also get a Scholia as well. Scholia, I think they're called. They're a bit of a more expensive option, which I'd like to upgrade to one of those one day, but not yet. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. Don't get one at first is my recommendation. In terms of scoring and in terms of how we like tally our scores, you can get I'll just move you over here for a second, a whiteboard. You can get a whiteboard and you can do your scoring on that. I quite like using that. I don't actually use it for scoring a real match. Like if I'm having a match against a person or against a bot on one of the apps, I would never use a whiteboard, obviously. But if I'm playing like a training drill or a training game that I've made up myself, it's fantastic. That's what all this writing is on the board right now. The whiteboard's really handy for that. I think for most people, you're probably going to have either a tablet. I've got mine fixed to the wall here, as you can see, or other people will use their mobile phone, and you can get an app on your phone. There's different types of ones. I'll put a couple somewhere on the screen, somewhere around now. There's the Target darts counter, I think it's called, app, which is like the one you have to use with this automatic scoring system, which is an improved app. It's got better. It used to be pretty poor. It's actually better now than it used to be. So you could try that one out. There's another app I'll put on the screen. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll put it on the screen. That's probably my recommendation because there's lots of different little games on that and things to keep you occupied and entertained. So give either of those a go, but ultimately have a bit of a look around and see what app you like and use the one that you like the best if you want to use an app. Just one final point on equipment as well. When I was talking earlier about like making sure you're using the correct like equipment that like matches what you'd see in a real environment in the real world. Also, like, you know, things like clothing and footwear. Like, for example, like if you're going to play in a pub or a tournament in the real world, you're going to be using trainers or shoes, whatever you call them, sneakers. Use them at home. Wear them when you're playing, when you're throwing. Get used to throwing with that heel on. Same for your clothes. Like, you know, like don't train at home shirtless or something. Make sure you're wearing a shirt and like, you know, somewhat replicating a real environment. You don't want to be going into like a real match in the real world and everything feels alien because you know, suddenly having to wear shoes and you suddenly have to wear clothes. I don't know. But either way, just practice in the same way at home or relatively close to what you'd see in the real world. Drills. What drills should I use? What games should I practice with? If you're just getting started, I think the most important thing is just do what you really enjoy. Although with a small caveat of saying, I wouldn't just throw it a treble 20 like for like hours on end, because that's not going to keep you concentrated enough to kind of build good skills. I would say try and like do some sort of scoring drill, try and do some sort of practice on your doubles or training on your doubles. Try to like focus on one of those areas just to kind of keep yourself a bit more concentrated when you're playing and practicing, but try and make it enjoyable. I think the most important thing is repetitions and just kind of building that muscle memory and that motor skill at the beginning, and I think that's where you're going to get your most gains. But once again, I wouldn't just throw it a treble 20 for like 3 hours because I just don't think that's going to be particularly productive for you. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it at the beginning. Just get those repetitions in and try to concentrate. That's my advice. As for the mental game, I would say manage your expectations as best as you can. Darts is a very tough game to improve at. It's going to take time, it's going to take a lot of practice, it's going to take a lot of consistency in your training, and it's not going to happen overnight. And I think that one of the worst things we can do is put a lot of pressure on ourselves at the beginning. You're probably going to be pretty poor for a while, and that's okay. I was pretty poor for a while. It's okay. It happens to everybody who's just getting started with the game. Darts is very much a game of averages. That's something I like to say, but not in the way you think. And when I say that, I mean, obviously we all think about like free dart averages. And if you're just getting started with darts, when I say free dart averages, I mean the average score of your free darts. It's a pretty common metric that everyone talks about, myself included sometimes. But ultimately, it's a game of averages in the sense that like you're going to have matches, like maybe like a best of 5 legs or something, where you lose and you play poorly and your numbers, like those free dart average numbers, are pretty low. But like if you play someone 100 times, you might win 70 or 80 times out of 100, but you might lose a game. There's going to be like little short-term swings and bits of volatility when you play the game, and that can be hard to tolerate at times. You know, you might play somebody that you perceive to be better than, or maybe you just are better than, but you lose, and that's going to happen. It's a very like there's a lot of variance in darts, and ultimately it's about zooming out and sort of knowing how good you are in the long run and how well you're going to throw in the long run. How many times am I going to hit that treble 20 if I was to throw 1,000 darts? How many times am I going to hit my doubles if I throw 10,000 darts? Do you get what I'm saying? It's about zooming out, and there's going to be over maybe like 100 darts volatility that can be tough to stomach. It really can be. And even just in like practice and training, like there's going to be days where without sugarcoating it, you're going to be terrible. And I have days where I am absolutely terrible. And it can drive you a little bit crazy. But I think it really does help to know that it's coming and it's going to happen. And improvement will come in waves. That's my, like, one of the things I like to think about is like, you're not just going to kind of consistently get better a tiny bit every day. You're going to stagnate and feel like you've plateaued for maybe months on end, and then you can have a burst of improvement. And that's just the way it kind of comes, in my experience anyway. So remember that, and if you're stuck, don't get too frustrated. Just try to enjoy the game as best you can. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you're frustrated, if you're like in that position where you're not happy with the game, don't be afraid to like take a day away from it. Like, don't be afraid to put the darts down and just walk away from darts and just go and do something else for a couple of days. I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, but like, there are going to be times, like I say, where you are frustrated. And if that is the case, just take a bit of a circuit break, just take a step away for a day, and you will feel better when you come back to the board in a day or two. Local leagues, local tournaments. This one's a tough one because I realise I've got people from all around the world who watch my videos, which is fantastic. I love hearing about people like in California, people in Australia, wherever. I hear like lots of different stories from different people, and it's so cool. But it's tough to give advice specifically. I will give some advice for like UK players, but there's probably a degree of overlap for like global viewers. And if you want to join a local team, or should you join a local team, I would say yes. I would say joining a team's really a good idea. It's great socially, you're going to meet some cool people, and ultimately it puts you in a competitive environment and it puts some pressure on yourself to improve and be better. And I really like that. So I joined the team last year and we had a good season. I enjoyed it. And I would say definitely do it if you're on the fence and you're not too sure. In terms of how you can join a team, I think most leagues, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think most leagues use Facebook. If you're anything like me, like I didn't have a Facebook account, I don't really want to be on Facebook. I had to make an account, just like a shell of an account, just so I could see the local league and view what was going on. So I'd recommend doing that. Just like, go on Facebook or whatever, find your local league. If it's like local pubs, local bars, go and maybe ask in the bars and see if they've got a team. That's what I did as well at the beginning. And you'll probably get onto a team quite quickly. The only thing I would say is try and find out what the structure of your local league is. Like, there's some like leagues that there'll be a Division 1 and a Division 2. And if you go into a Division 1 pub and say, can I join your team? They're probably less likely to be kind of keen to take you on board, because it's going to be a higher standard of play in their league, and they're less likely to take a punt on somebody who might just be brand new to the game. So I'll just say that it's not like a bad thing. I think it's probably best to start like lower and then kind of get an idea of the standard of play and work your way up. But that's my advice. Kind of get on Facebook, have a bit of a look around your local area, and do it. That's my advice. Do it. Join a team and you'll meet some cool people. As for tournaments, once again, this can vary wildly. I don't really know what your local situation is. In the UK, we have something called the Vaults system, which is on, I can't remember what it's called. I will put it on the screen. There's a website that you can join like these tournaments called the Vaults. And basically the idea is you pay like £5 and you enter the tournament, and there's a bit of a pot for winning the tournament. They have groups and then they have knockout stages. So they might have like 4 groups of 6 players, and the top 2 players from each group go through to the next round, that kind of thing. So that's a really good way of playing competitively if you want to get involved in that. And you can also see like the general standard of play in your local area if you go on this website and you look at the Vault tournaments in your local area. So I'd recommend doing that. Like I say, I'll put it on screen now because I've completely forgotten the name of the website. I've not played in a Vault for a few weeks myself now. So yeah, that's one way of playing in a tournament. But I think there's also areas around the world where I know they do like just open tournaments and it's like all done through like Facebook or whatever. So yeah, your mileage may vary with that. But if you're in the UK, you can use the Vaults for a tournament. Practical tips as for throwing advice, as for how can we throw the dart better, I'm not going to give too much of that. Well, I'm not going to give any of that in this video, to be truthful. I do cover that in another video, which I'm going to link in the description of this video. I think it's like beginner tips or something I called the video. I can't remember now, it's been a while. One thing I say in that video, which I do stand by to this day, is throw with the elbow and not the shoulder. So for example, like, if you imagine somebody like just getting started, they might throw with their shoulder, like put their shoulder into it. You want to be throwing with the elbow and pivoting with the elbow. So that's something to think about. I'm a pretty firm believer, if you're like a beginner, don't get overwhelmed with advice. Don't go online, find loads of tips and like just completely overwhelm yourself. But in that video, I do give 3 pointers that I think are really useful if you're just getting started. A few things to think about. And like I say, elbow, not shoulder, and pivot with the elbow. That's one bit of advice I'll give you. But if you're interested in more, go watch that video. I will put it in the description of this video. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. That's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed this video or if you found it helpful, please do let me know down in the comments and maybe even hit the subscribe button because that is super helpful to my channel. I'm a tiny channel and I'm still growing. So yeah, I appreciate that. Have a wonderful day and I will catch you for the next one. Bye-bye.